This is Dante Williams, and you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
This is Showtime Sean Portland. Filipino Flash, Jesse Burns.
This is Al Bernstein. You're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
I am Sugar Ray.
Chick Shame.
Sergio the last name
Dante's Boxing Nation. Boom, 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 boom.
Yo, this is Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder.
My name is Gennady Golovkin.
And you're watching
Dante's Boxing Nation.
Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So the real heavyweight champion of the world, Vladimir Klitschko, defeats Bryant Jennings by unanimous decision. You know, when it comes to Vladimir Klitschko, it is very difficult to give him a good review. I mean, if you listen to the post-fight interviews, it almost sounds as if everyone was talking as if Vladimir Klitschko lost the fight. Following Vladimir Klitschko's post-fight interview, Jim Lampley interviewed Gennady Golovkin. And Jim Lampley asked Gennady Golovkin, he said, "What did you think about the fight?" The first thing Golovkin said was, "Bryant Jennings, I thought he looked really good. I thought he looked good, so on and so forth." And then he said, "Vladimir Klitschko, I don't know. Maybe it's because maybe he looked like that because he hasn't fought in the States in so long." That's pretty much what Gennady Golovkin said. I mean, if you didn't know the result of the fight, you would have thought that Bryant Jennings won the fight just by listening to Golovkin's interview. This is the thing with Vladimir Klitschko. Like I said, you always have to give him mixed reviews. It's always going to be a good news, bad news type of review when it comes to Klitschko. Because there are some things that he obviously does positive. There are some positive things that I can say about him. I mean, he hasn't had a loss in, 10, 11 years since he got knocked out by Layman Brewster. And he's been pretty much unbeaten since then. 21 straight fights. That's obviously a good thing. He has been the most dominant heavyweight fighter in the last 10, 11 years. Now here comes the but. And the but is Vladimir Klitschko hasn't fought in the United States in over 7 years. And the reason is because of the last performance he had out here, which was at the Madison Square Garden arena. He looked terrible. And that was against Sultan Ibragimov. It was nothing but constant holding, constant boos from the crowd. It looked more like he was just trying to survive as opposed to blow away the crowd with a dominant performance, right? So now you fast forward 7 years later, now because he's fighting against an undefeated American fighter, they bring him back to the States to give him another chance. And once again, Vladimir Klitschko, he disappoints. Let's talk about the fight. Now, even though I picked Vladimir Klitschko to win this fight slightly, I have to say I agree with Gennady Golovkin and the HBO panel when they said they were impressed with Bryant Jennings' performance. I was impressed with Jennings for a couple reasons. One of the things he did was something that I don't recall too many other Klitschko opponents doing. And I had always said to myself, why won't fighters do this? And that is, look over to the referee and say, he's holding me. What are you going to do about it? He keeps holding me. Complain about this man holding. Now, the whole purpose of doing this is to put pressure on the referee. Because when you put this in the referee's head, the referee already doesn't want to look like he's been unfair. He doesn't want to look like he's given a certain fighter an advantage. So now, every single time Vladimir Klitschko holds and grabs in the fight, referee Michael Griffin is going to be thinking about what Bryant Jennings said to him. And that ended up working like a charm for Bryant Jennings. Because for the first time, and I don't know how long, Vladimir Klitschko finally got warned and then got a point deducted. Now, Harold Letterman, he said the referee should have did that a long time ago. He said, I would have warned him from the first round on and then start taking away points. Because even after Klitschko got deducted a point, he continued to grab and hold. Now, guys, you guys have to understand something. There's no doubt about it. Clinching is a part of boxing. But there is clinching and then there is abusing clinching. I could show you guys clips of course, Floyd Mayweather clinching, Lucas Matisse clinching, Manny Pacquiao clinching, Canelo Alvarez clinching. And the list goes on and on and on. The problem with Vladimir Klitschko is you have fighters that clinch every now and then, right? They're in a bad situation, like maybe their back is against the ropes. You know, you're literally at a disadvantage. You're fighting against a power puncher. Your back is against the ropes. You tie him up to get your back off the ropes. Now, that's something that you would normally see. That's not something that would alarm a boxing fan or even a referee. Usually a good boxer, he's in his comfort zone when he's in the center of the ring, right? Usually the average boxer doesn't feel comfortable on the ropes. Obviously, we're not talking about a Floyd Mayweather or an Andre Ward or a Roy Jones. Those are special type of fighters that are actually comfortable on the ropes. Don't get me wrong, you'll see them even tie up every now and then, right? But the point that I'm making is, usually you see boxers tie people up when their back is against the ropes, when they're trapped in a corner or something like that. I've seen some of the toughest fighters tie up in that situation. But you don't usually see good boxers relying on the clinch when they are in the center of the ring. Because usually that's where they are at their best, outboxing you. You have a little bit of space to, jump back if you need to, move to the side, use angles, whatever the case may be, right? Control a person, keep them at a distance with your jab, so on and so forth. You have that advantage when you are at the center or in the center of the ring, which is what we often see when Floyd Mayweather is in the ring, dominating opponents in the center of the ring. Floyd doesn't rely on clinching when he is in the center of the ring. Every now and then you'll see him clinch when his back is against the ropes. Once again, that's normal for any fighter to do that. This is where I take away a lot of credit from Vladimir Klitschko. With Vladimir Klitschko being 6'6", having an extraordinary reach and height advantage over all of his opponents, he knows how to box. He has an amateur pedigree. Why does he have to rely on grabbing someone when he is in the center of the ring and he has this great jab? He has this huge right hand. He has this great check hook. He has all of these weapons, and yet he would rather rely on the clinch. With the type of reach advantage Vladimir Klitschko has, you would expect him to know how to control distance, keep fighters at the distance that he wants them at. And the way fighters like Floyd Mayweather does this, and even fighters like Kell Brook and Andre Ward, the way they do it is with a nice stiff jab to the midsection or a solid right hand to the midsection. There's so many ways to keep a fighter at bay. You would think with the experience that Vladimir Klitschko has, this man has been fighting for 27 years. You would think he would know how to do it. Or maybe he does know how to do it. But he feels that's possibly taking too much of a risk, especially when it's in the back of his head that he's already been knocked out a couple of times. If you grab somebody, it's going to be very difficult for them to knock you out, okay? I thought Brian Jennings did a good job of taking away Vladimir Klitschko's right hand. Matter of fact, Klitschko, he even admitted in a post-fight interview the reason why he wasn't throwing a right hand that often is because Brian Jennings pretty much took it away from him. He didn't leave any openings for Klitschko to even throw it. So he took away his right hand, and once he did that, it looked like Klitschko was pretty much lost in the whole fight. Don't get me wrong, I believe he won the fight. I do believe the fight was a lot closer than the judges had it, simply because neither fighter was doing a whole lot, which makes every single attack stand out more. And in Brian Jennings' case, he was throwing a lot of right hooks or just hooks to the body that I think he probably didn't get as much credit as he should have got for those punches. But like I said, I still believe Klitschko, he won the fight. I just thought it should have been a little bit closer than it was. Even with all of Vladimir Klitschko's flaws, and even though he looks very beatable, you still have to give him credit as a great champion, because he has beat some very good heavyweights. In the last 10 years, he's beat some good heavyweights. But with me saying all of that, I believe there are some fighters out there that are going to give Vladimir Klitschko a lot of problems. One fighter is Deontay Wilder. Another fighter is Tyson Fury. I even believe Amir Mansour would give Vladimir Klitschko a lot of problems. Because one thing about Vladimir is he does not have a chin. Okay? He doesn't have a great chin, but Vladimir Klitschko proves that a fighter with the lack of a great chin can still dominate his division. Now, before I talk about Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury giving Vladimir problems, let's just talk about Amir Mansour and why I believe he would give Klitschko a lot of problems. Now, Amir Mansour, he doesn't have the height that a Deontay Wilder or a Tyson Fury has, which gives them a better chance of actually beating Vladimir Klitschko. But the one thing that Amir Mansour has that even Brian Jennings didn't have is constant pressure with knockout power. That's one thing Amir Mansour has. He is going to continuously come forward, throwing bombs over and over again. See, a lot of fighters, they get discouraged because Vladimir Klitschko, he's so elusive. Like I said, I give him his props. He'll tie you in if you get too close to him. Or he could even use angles on you, like Vladimir used a lot of angles against Brian Jennings. But when it comes to Amir Mansour, because he will continue to, bring the pressure, he'll continue to throw punches. He won't get discouraged if he misses a couple of wide hooks. He'll keep throwing them. In the process, he'll either get knocked out himself or he'll catch Vladimir Klitschko. Because Vladimir doesn't have the best chin, you only need to land a couple of those bombs, right? You don't have to hit Vladimir Klitschko with bombs for 12 rounds. If you land those bombs for a good 3 rounds straight, you may end up being the new heavyweight champion of the world. And that's what a fighter like Amir Mansour brings to the dance. Okay, because like I said, he has somewhat of a Mike Tyson swarming style. And that's the type of style, or at least one of the styles, that would give Vladimir Klitschko problems. Now, Brian Jennings was another fighter, of course, that also gave Vladimir Klitschko problems because he was so athletic. He had great foot movement, he had speed, and this is what Vladimir Klitschko said about Brian Jennings. He was impressed with his footwork, his speed, he switched things up. Vladimir Klitschko even brought up the fact that Brian Jennings was almost getting in his head, doing a lot of talking in the ring. So there's a couple things that Brian Jennings did well. But the one thing I don't think Brian Jennings took full advantage of is once the referee had already took a point away from Klitschko from holding, that was a perfect opportunity for Brian Jennings to just rip the body and continuously throw punches until the referee breaks it up, or you force Vladimir to clinch again. But see, that's not what Jennings did. When Vladimir would just fall all over Brian, that's when Brian would stop punching and he would wait for the referee to break it up. He should have kept punching, and he didn't do that. But, you know, outside of that, for him only having 6 years experience in the ring, I thought he did pretty well. Once again, I think Klitschko is going to have a lot of problems against Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. But that's all I got for now. I'm on to the next one.